Hi there, welcome to What's New and Neat in N-Scale podcast number 4, which is being published at close of business on Friday the 13th of April 2018. My name is Dennis Turner and I am your host. The purpose of these broadcasts is to highlight what is new in N-Scale. At present, the magazines endeavour to show you what is new and what is coming down the track. However, by virtue of publishing deadlines, they are always out of date. This podcast, on the other hand, is completely up to date, as at the date it is published on YouTube. We also want to showcase anything that is neat, but not necessarily new, in N-Scale. For now, I'm just trying to cover all of the N-Scale manufacturers' websites and some retailers, and that is taking quite a while. Once we've moved past that stage, we will be looking for what's neat. Now that can include just about anything. So if you think you have or know something neat in N-Scale, please contact me at the email address that will appear in the credits, along with the URLs of all of the websites visited in this podcast. I would also like to hear from any Australian N-Scale manufacturers of Aussie prototype equipment, new or neat. They will need to provide either PDFs or a website so that we can showcase them. I'd like to point out that these podcasts are free of all commercial backing and support. We have no sponsors or take commissions from anyone, and there should be no advertising on the site. That may change in time, but if it does, I will explain how and why. We also have no fancy microphones or cameras. All of the podcasts are shot using an Apple iPad Pro, which has a great screen capture utility and has forward and reverse, normal cameras and forward cameras, like you're looking at now. The video files are then uploaded to what is now a fairly old Apple iMac and edited and published using Apple's free iVideo software. The What's New and Neat in N-Scale podcasts will always endeavour to be 100% accurate. And that's one of the reasons why I show you the websites, as they support the accuracy of statements being made. However, if I do make a mistake, please tell me and I will check it out against the facts, and if I agree, I will apologise and run correcting footage if necessary. In podcast number 3, I promised to visit Hatton's UK website to review what was new in British Engage, and also to visit some alternative retailers where you could find products that are no longer available from N-Scale Supply or Model Train Stuff, who are our main go-to retailers for what's new in N-Scale. Now that footage never appeared in podcast number 3. I did shoot it, but unfortunately it never got recorded, and I didn't realise until I'd finished. And it's a bit of a pain when you've finished something and then you've got to do it all over again. However, I've done it again and it will follow this segment. Thank you for watching. Please indicate if you like these podcasts, and please subscribe if you wish to. Your support will ensure that I keep doing it. Without any support, one can't be bothered. But as long as the support is there and is growing, then it's obviously a worthwhile project. Thank you. Right, as I've explained in earlier podcasts, Hatton's in the UK and Liverpool is your go-to site for PIKO track, wherever you live. It's not only got the cheapest prices for PIKO, and of course VAT is not paid by anybody outside of the UK. The postage from the UK is pretty reasonable, and as I say, this is the place to go for N-scale PIKO track. But if you're also into British outline, then this is where you find out about new British products, and you click on new stock up the top there, and it takes you into new releases, and you can click on here and say you want to look at new releases for the last 7, 14 etc. days. We'll go 14. It's got Engage and all manufacturers, remember scale, and we click on search. Don't forget to click on search, it doesn't do it automatically, and there it gives you the dates that your search covers. Excuse me. And if it's all in yellow, then it's N-scale or Engage. It's Engage in the UK as opposed to scale. There is a difference, but I won't get into that today. But it's not greatly significant, and they all run on the same track. So there's some wagons, some passenger cars, sorry, then there's wagons, then there's locomotives, and more passenger cars, more wagons, buildings, and so on. As you can see, there is a lot of new stuff being released in the UK. So the British Engage modeler is pretty well catered for. Okay, moving along. Excuse me. Moving along. Now we're going to look at sites other than N-scale supply and model train stuff. And the reason for this is if we're looking for item 367, come on, 3676, which is a Atlas SD9 analog, no DCC, and as you can see, we've got 0 stock at Model Train Stuff. But if they had stock, you'd be able to buy it for $83.99. So keep that figure in mind. So, okay, so we're out of luck at Model Train Stuff. So the first place I'd try is Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. Now, these guys don't tell you, for some reasons best known for them, they don't make it obvious that they're an N-scale only site. And in fact, it's only if we go to here that we get your N-scale online local train shop that you discover that they are just N-scale. And they don't bother to tell you anywhere else that it's N-scale or HO or whatever. So they just assume that you know it's N-scale, just like a lot of HO places assume that all you want's HO. So I don't know whether that's just getting one back at them or they never, I don't know. Anyway, that's the way they do things. So we're after an Atlas locomotive, so we'll click on locomotives, and then we want to go to Atlas. Don't make the mistake I always make of clicking on the logo. Click on the word Atlas. So that takes us to Atlas locomotives. and we're after an ST9, so we click on there, and lo and behold, we have the model that we're looking for. Only it's $93.99, so $10 more, but they've got it in stock and they'll sell it to you. Now, these guys will ship by first class mail if you're outside the US. The only catch is that for some reason their shopping cart can't handle that. I don't know why. So what you have to do, and I'd do it in advance if I was you, send them an email, and Robin Pfeiffer will probably reply, and tell them you want to ship by first class mail. She'll tell you to click priority mail, pay the extra, and then when she ships, she refunds the difference. Now, I've done that, and she refunded $30 to me, which was the difference between priority and first class mail. They're not necessarily quite as cheap for their first class mail as model train stuff, but then on the other hand, model train stuff seem to have, I've got a suspicion they've increased their shipping charges lately, because the last 3 orders I've placed with them, the shipping charge has been $25.18 exactly, first class. So it seems to me that that's the lowest shipping fee. They used to charge much lower than that. $12–18 is not unusual. So, but you still can get it for first class from Pfeiffer, and as I say, they'll refund the difference. Now they've got no. I don't think there's anything on this site that tells you. I mean, it tells you there what's new. So so there we go. So they've got a range of stuff. So yep. So there's some what's new stuff, but the main reason you go to Pfeiffer is if you can't get the product at N-Scale Supply. But they're reliable, and the most important thing, of course, is that they're N-Scale only, and for that reason alone, they deserve support. But $10 is $10, so your choice. Okay, now if Pfeiffer haven't got the product, the next place I would look is HobbyLink. Now, HobbyLink are everybody, not just HO. They're into plastic rockets and building. Oh, you name it. They sell it if it's in the modelling arena. And they don't have any quick way of doing this. So you've got to click on model trains. Then, in this case, we're looking for a locomotive. So you then click on locomotives. Then you click on diesel N. So as you see, the website's got choices, but not the choices that you'd like. So we then go diesel N. Okay, now here's where they do have a couple of good things. If you click on specials and more, you have the option of clicking on in stock, which I really like, because there's no point looking at stuff that's out of stock. So now we have in stock. Also, if you're looking for DCC, and this is the only site I know that does this, it has the option of a DCC on board option. So if you were looking for a DCC loco, this will consolidate them all and give you just a list of DCCs, which I think is really useful. In this case, we're not looking for a DCC. It's probably DCC ready, but there's not much point clicking either. Now what this site doesn't have is a manufacturer's listing. So you can't say I want to look at Atlas. Now obviously you could use the search facility over in the right, but that's not what we're trying to demonstrate. So they don't have a manufacturer's choice. They do, however, have a railroad name choice, which model train stuff doesn't have. So, swings and roundabouts. So we're looking for a Rio Grande SD9, I think it was. So we'll click on Rio Grande. So now let's see what we've got. And we have this one, which is not exactly, I think we were looking for 3676, but 3677 is its sister. So same product. Yeah, it's just a slightly different road number. So we've managed to find that. In fact, you've got one 3676 at FIFA and 77 at where are we at Hobby Link. So you've got them both. Price $94.45 compared with $93.99 at FIFA's and $83.99 at Model Train Stuff. So they're a little more expensive. As far as shipping goes, these guys confuse me. I think they ship by priority, but I have had discussions with them about shipping by first class mail, and I think they say they do it, but I'm not convinced that they do it. So don't necessarily expect your shipping prices to be wonderful. But if it's a model you've got to have, then this is the site to go to. All right, so that covers the sites where I go. There's a couple of others that you could look at. One of the sites that you could look at is Kim Patterson's sponsor, the replacement for Caboose Hobbies in Denver. They have quite a comprehensive site, not a lot of photographs of models. The pricing's all over the place, but generally it's much higher than anyone else, often as high as retail. They do now ship overseas, didn't used to, but they do now. So it's an option to go to if you're looking for a product. It's probably unlikely that they'll still have the product, but then because they sell it at such high prices, they may have stuff still in stock that the others don't. Certainly the old Caboose I've bought from time to time. Then another one to look at is Train World. Train World have quite a good criteria for searching. Their pricing is generally quite competitive, particularly for stuff that they really want to sell. Bachmann in classic cars, they're all quite cheap. I stopped buying from them because they refused to ship to my post office box because I was overseas. They'll only ship to your billing address, which is my home. Apparently that only applies to overseas customers because we're not trustworthy. They may have changed that policy by now, but that was their policy several years ago when I last bought from them. But they offended me, so I stopped buying from them. But just because I'm not happy with them doesn't mean that you shouldn't check them out as a source. So that's contrary to popular opinion that there are thousands and thousands of internet sites which are doing nothing but robbing the poor old local dealers of all their sales. There aren't actually an awful lot of them that are really competitive and have a good range of N-scale stuff. So them's your choices. So last Sunday, Kim Patterson of What's Neat This Week fame posted a comment on our YouTube page which read, My guess is your numbers will go up over 500% Monday. End quote. I was naive enough to think he was going to give us a shout out, which I guess in some ways he did. But it seems his main objective was to point out that I'd made a mistake in a comment regarding one of his sponsors. Well, so let's have a look at his video.
And for something that's big for the background of your layout. It's perfect for that. Now, there's a new podcast out there started by a gentleman in Australia. I can't remember his name off of hand, but I remember the name of the show is What's Neat and New in N-Scale, and he talks about his show and that he's came up with the name sort of from our show, but we never have any N-Scale on our show, so that he thought he'd fill that void. And on his show, podcast number 3, he brought up a screen capture of our show right here on his show, which was kind of neat to watch from a third. And he said that Jeff Otto at Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply makes great HO scale stuff. Don't worry about it, Dirk. You don't have to go close. But he doesn't make anything in N scale. So heads up to this, to the gentleman that's doing the What's Neat and What's New in N scale podcast. Here's Jeff Otto's N scale template for an N scale turnout. Yes, he does make N scale. So what else? I could keep talking for half an hour. Bowser. I talked to Bowser this week on the phone. They saw the run by of these beautiful.
I couldn't stop him. Well, Ken was correct, of course. Oak Hill do in fact make one N-scale template for a number 10 code 55 turnout. Now, Ken got the name of our show wrong. He called it What's Neat in N-scale, which I guess is not surprising considering his show is called What's Neat. But ours is in fact called What's New and Neat in N-scale. And whilst this product may be neat, it's certainly not new, as it was in fact manufactured in 2015. The What's New in N-scale podcast will endeavour to always be 100% accurate, which is one of the reasons why I always show you the websites I'm commenting on. However, if I do make a mistake, and I'm told about it, I will check it out against the facts, and if I agree, I will apologise. However, in this instance, I, and most of you, I think, would have made the same mistake. Let's go and have a detailed look at Oak Hill's website, and I think you'll see what I mean. Okay, this is Oak Hill's website, and I should have shown it to you at the same time as commenting on them. And I would say that my purpose for commenting at all was simply to say, here's if N-scalers want templates for making their own turnouts, then Oak Hill's not much use to you, go to Fastracks. But anyway, that was my objective. I wasn't really particularly trying to have a dig at Ken, but obviously he thought I was. Anyway, this is how I got it wrong. Oak Hill. So his menu up the top, that basically is the same as the front page. So if we go up the front page, we get the about, it says a bit, templates a bit, and then we get the store. Okay, now I got this far and I saw templates. So I clicked on templates. And here we go, templates. And we have HO straight track, HO 3060, HO double track. Okay, now there's an arrow there, but that only leads down to these little boxes. So I didn't go any further. But what I did do was go and click on one of these. And by the way, even for HO, there's not a lot of detail here. But anyway, it does give you a lot more detail about the product. Okay, so quite honestly, at that stage, that was why I concluded that there was no N-scale products on this site. However, Okay, what I should have done was kept going past these boxes. And I didn't do that because I'd looked at the products. However, if I had, I'd have got to videos. And there we have it, right in the centre, N scale, number 10, 55 turnout, is a video on YouTube. Now, quite frankly, I'm not going to apologise for this. I don't think anybody else would have necessarily have noticed that there was a video about an N-scale turnout. It wasn't included in the store items. It still isn't included in the store items. You can't really compare one single N-scale turnout which was made in 2015, that's 3 years ago, and doesn't even seem to be supported by the current Oak Hill website, with the range of scale turnouts that are available on the Fastrack's website for N-scale. And that was all I was really trying to show you, was that if you want to hand lay your track, go to this Fastrack's website. The products are there, the details are there. Number 10 turnout, should you want a number 10 turnout, is there. It's there in code 40 and 55. You can view the details. The price is there. You know, you've got the complete support for your product. You know, Oak Hill, it relies on you communicating directly with him, and he'll obviously I presume, do some sort of custom work for you, which is great. But Fastracks have a laid out website, and personally I buy from well laid out, clear websites where I can buy as opposed to being sold to. So this to me is an excellent website. Ken, yes, you were right, I missed it, but I think even you would have missed it if you'd actually looked at the website. Okay, let's move on to more interesting. Little background noise. As you can see, we're on Microtrain's website. Now, earlier in the month, we listed all of the new releases from Microsoft's Microtrains. You can tell I was in the software business for a long time. Anyway, we listed all of Microtrain's new releases as was shown on the N-Scale Supply website. However, on Microtrain's own website, there's a little bit more information which could be useful to you. So, first of all, they've got this sort of running display of lots of new stuff coming, which I'll leave you to go through at your leisure. We're going to specifically look at N-Scale, and then we're going to look first at new releases. Come on, new releases. Okay, now these should be just about the same as what we looked at on N-Scale Supply's website, which were the new releases at the 31st of March. Now, all of these products are now in the hobby shops. You can get them from Model Trains Supply, N-Scale Supply, and probably most other shops. So this is their releases for March. Okay, now if we go back, I'll push N-Scale again. Now let's have a look at pre-orders. Now, this is where we get some important new information. If the page loads, Okay. Now these are the products that have been announced but have not yet shipped, and this page tells you when they're coming and gives you some more information about them. So this is a better page to look at if you want to know about what's coming down the track from Microtrains. So first of all, we have this white line pack, which I think is Civil War stuff. Then we have some Union Pacific. Whoops, let's go back there. Canadian National, Cotton Belt heavyweights, Rio Grande heavyweights. Now, presumably these are the same as the individual cars they've been making. What I don't know is whether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, whether the 5 cars are in different road names to the individual cars. I would expect them to be in different road names. Let's see. When I say different road names, I mean different road numbers. Okay, is it going to tell us heavyweights, sleepers, package car? Oh, there we go. You've got the coach numbers 996. Oh gosh, get my tongue in the right place. 980, 985, 741, etc. So you can go back if you've already bought the individual cars, like I have. I won't waste your time doing it right now, but I can go and look at the road numbers on the cars that I've bought and see if they're different. And if they're different, then obviously there's the option of buying the 5-pack. Okay, we've got Rio Grande log loads coming. We've got some tanks, more tanks and more tanks. Military stuff seems to be very popular these days. Can't quite understand why, but anyway, that's the way it is. Missouri Pacific, 4-pack, Norfolk and Southern, and then we've got these 16-car sets of Pacific Fruit Express that we've looked at earlier. Ringing Brothers, more Ringing Brothers, UP, the Waihuza log car set. Okay, I wasn't aware of them. It's quite interesting. Canadian, okay, quite a few SW 1500s, Canadian Pacific, Southern Pacific, Frisco, Southern, and Western Pacific. Most unusual, just don't see a lot of stuff for Western Pacific. So there we go. So they're the pre-orders or stuff in the pipeline from Microtrains. Now, just one other matter while we're on the subject of Microtrains. I've been in correspondence with Eric Smith, the general manager and CEO of Microtrains, about a couple of things, but in particular I asked him about whether Microtrains were going to start producing their products with metal wheels. And he said they are seriously considering doing just that, but his words are, Dennis, if you and your fellow N-scalers have an opinion on metal wheels versus plastic wheel sets, please feel free to share them with me. So, 2 things. One, could you either put a comment at the bottom of this podcast or send me an email telling me whether you think that Microtrains should switch to metal wheels or stay with plastic. That's the first thing. The second, and easier but more important, I hope you're about to see one of these YouTube product surveys. I've forgotten exactly what they call it. They have some buzzword for it. But anyway, you're going to be offered the choice of either plastic, is saying that microtrains should stick to plastic wheels, should come out with metal wheels, or you don't care. So if you wouldn't mind taking that survey, clicking those boxes, that will give us a really good idea, and I will go back to Eric with all of your responses and tell him how we feel. Okay, that's I got cut off rather abruptly from that previous segment, so I'll continue with the postscript. I was talking about whether the road numbers for the 5-packs were different from the single packs, and we'll specifically talk about Rio Grande because that's what I collect, and I've got the singles for this, and the coach that was released was number 976, and here you see you got two more as 980 and 985. I wish I'd known that because I went and bought 3 of those. And obviously 2 of them I've got to renumber. But anyway, you get 2 new ones, and the baggage car was 711. Excuse me. It was 711, and the new one's 741. So obviously the multi-packs are going to be different road numbers and worth buying. All right, now that is the end of the microtrain segment, and we'll move on to the next one, which is about a model shop in North Devon called Osborne Models, and a chap, Maurice Pearce, wrote to me from that dealership, and he said, "Dear Dennis, good to see that you've promoted Gagemaster as a Faller supplier, but if you want keener pricing from a UK supplier that specialises in N scale, please try out our site." Now I have to apologise to Maurice. I was aware of Osborne Models, but and I've bought from them once. They're fine, but UK's got quite a lot of model shops, so I hadn't thought to include them, but I should have. So let's go and have a look at Osborne Models. Now the main reason that I should have included them is because they say they're an N-scale superstore and claim to have a lot of N-scale products, and that makes them neat. So they should have been included in the podcasts. So here we are. Let's go and have a look at their N-scale superstore. All right, and we see that they list their products by type. Now we're interested in Faller. Now, for those who didn't see the podcast about Faller, Faller are a very large German manufacturer of kits. Cornerstone does a great job with industrial American-looking kits, but they have very few non-industrial and sort of non-roadside type kits, whereas Faller have a lot of them. There are also other German manufacturers, nothing like as big as Faller, that have kits as well, and they need to be considered, and they're a lot cheaper for you guys in America if you buy them from the UK. If you're in Australia, the biggest problem is lack of lack of stock. But you may find that because they're imported from Germany, that the Australian prices are perhaps not too bad. But sourcing suppliers is a nightmare. Because unfortunately the bricks and mortar model shops just do not hold enough stock of anything when you want it. And if you've got to wait for them to get it in, well, you might as well order it yourself. Okay, now we won't look at locomotives and stuff because that's obviously British outline or American outline at very expensive prices. They stock Atlas and Kato, etc., but it's a lot cheaper from the US. So if we look at buildings, accessories, etc., we get quite a range. Now these guys sell PIKO track, but they're about a pound or a little bit more than a pound more expensive than Hattons. So they're not the site to go to if you're buying PIKO track. You should go to Hattons. But for lots of other stuff. Now, Metcalfe is English, and they make cards. And I'm going to the UK in August, and I'm probably going to get a few Metcalfe products to try them out. They look really good. I don't know whether it's probably a good idea to glue them to polystyrene sheets, but plastic sheets. But they look interesting, and they have a variety, and they're very well priced in comparison with plastic kits, so they're worth looking at. Brauer, that's I think German, and make a lot of might as well go and have a look while I natter. Okay, they make lights and stuff, and obviously not a lot of. Quite a few of these sites I went into, and there was only 2 or 3 products, so it's really just not worth bothering with. Now there's Fowler. We won't go into huge detail. As you can see, you get mainly cards and stuff at the front. I find if I change the sort by from price high to low, then I end up with the more interesting stuff, because like it or not, good kits are expensive. So there we go. The most expensive kit starts at £200, but this Bond station at £94 is quite a nice product. Now this is stuff that at the end of the day, if you want a fancy looking station, even though it's expensive, that's the price you got to pay. But it's not particularly American prototype, whereas some of the other stuff is probably more acceptable, depending on how you want to look at it. So anyway, their Fowler stuff is 10% cheaper than Gagemaster, as was obvious from the guy's email. So if you want Fowler stuff, go to Osborne. Now, their shipping, we'll come to this later probably, but their shipping price is probably about £10 on a couple of kits, which is quite cheaper than the US equivalent. Now Nosh have some products. They're European as well. Model Scene is a PIKO brand. Calibri, I suspect there's not much there, but let's have a look. Yeah, that's what I thought. I need 2 items. Pity, Calibri makes some really nice stuff. My pronunciation may or may not be the correct pronunciation, by the way. It's It certainly won't be the way it's pronounced in the States. So Vollmer, okay, you got quite a bit of stuff from Vollmer, and they make some really nice looking kits as well. So they're well worth looking at. Now the next product comes under the heading of neat rather than and new. This company PIKO. Now I'm not sure that I've heard of them before. I have, and I've just skipped over them. But they've been around a very long time, and I shouldn't have skipped over them. So while I was on the Osborne site and looking at it, I went into this page that you're seeing there, and I was astounded at the different types of kits. I've actually gone and bought this transformer substation, which is very much like a transformer substation, which is across the road from the railway station in Granby, in the Colorado mountains, and is a town I'm modelling. So I bought that specifically for there, and I've bought yes, and I bought the industrial tanks, partly because you can never have enough tanks. But what I liked about this was the little fence all the way around, which is more appropriate than just having tanks in the middle of nowhere. So that sort of fitted with what I wanted. So now I bought those two items, and they cost me, as I say, £10 postage on top. However, now I'll leave you to go and have a look at at all of the other buildings, but just to continue the saga, I sort of was surfing around the web looking on the word PIKO, and lo and behold, I discovered PIKO America, and I went into the site and I clicked on N scale, and the first thing our catalogues is obviously a bit academic, but smart control. And lo and behold, they make an Android compatible series of DCC controllers. And this is PIKO America, not Europe. So, I mean, obviously they're made in Europe, but they're sold through an American distributor that they've obviously set up. I think the only dealer I've think is Train World in New York. I don't model train stuff, and the others are stocking PIKO at this stage. Anyway, then I went on to buildings, and lo and behold, there's all the buildings that Osborne had. Now, if you're in the USA, these prices are much cheaper than the UK prices. So even from an Australian perspective, they're cheaper. However, when I went to try and order from PIKO America, they came up and said they only ship to America, they don't ship internationally, which probably has to do with protecting their brand in different countries. So only Americans can buy it, but as I say, they're better prices than the UK prices, so go to it. But it is an interesting selection. But then we will have a look at catalogues, because that might save me a bit of time. Yes, there we go, and there's the N-scale catalogue. And this is what we find. It doesn't help you if you're modelling American prototype, Australian prototype, or British, but if you're into European, they have a massive amount of product, far more than you'd realise, and the catalogue is very detailed. But you would have to buy if you wanted to buy these products because you were into European, and it's I have not done the price comparison, but there is a site called PIKO, which I assume is in Germany because it's PIKO's own store, and it's in euros. Now, I can't tell you anything about postage, and I can't tell you anything about price comparisons. I didn't find this site until after I'd ordered the products from Osborne, but I might later on do a comparison to see how the European price stacks up against the English pound, and as I say, the American dollar would. If you're in America, you'd certainly want to buy these buildings from PIKO America. So, as I say, that comes under the heading of both new and neat. PIKO is something quite different. So, anyway, that ends this segment, and I'm going to sit here in silence for a few seconds, just to see whether I get cut off this time or whether my words, this is the end of the segment, actually appears on the... And I did get cut off anyway. Right, as a postscript to PIKO, I've done the sums. Remember that this is PIKO, the manufacturer's website, so they can only sell at manufacturer's recommended retail price, so they're going to be more expensive than discounted shops. So Osborne's in the UK, their price is 40% lower than PIKO's, and PIKO in the USA is 20% cheaper. However, bear in mind that if you're interested in their European outline locomotives or cars, then you would have to buy from Germany because they're not available for sale outside of Germany. Okay, that's the end of that segment. Okay, to our last segment in this podcast number 4. We're going to look at a outfit called Prototype N-Scale Models. Now, if any of you have attended a convention in Texas or the N-Scale convention, the N-Scale Enthusiast Convention in the United States each June, you'd have come across George's stand. He sells special runs of microtrains, Intermountain, Atlas sets of cars that presumably they've made specially for him, and he sells them through the trade shows. However, he had an advertisement in the N-Scale Enthusiast magazine, the last one, and there were some items in there I was interested in, so I contacted him and as a consequence bought the product. I asked him if he had any PDFs because I knew he didn't have a website, and he said no, but I've got a spreadsheet. And before you go, oh, spreadsheet's boring, there are in fact high-res photographs on this spreadsheet, so stick around, it's worth looking at. Now the way to I'll just go on glug glug glug. The way to buy the product from him is to email that address, or obviously you can phone him. His postage rates, as you can see, are $7 US, 25 outside of US, which is very, very competitive and a good price. And he does it per order, so it doesn't matter how much you buy off him. In addition to that, he's now offering 10% off his lowest price, which includes his special run price. So he has some really competitive rates. Anyway, you need to order them either by email or phone. and he takes American Express, MasterCard, Visa, or PayPal. So go to it. Right, page 1. Okay, start at the top. Okay, now these are all sets that he's had for quite a while. This first set, Rock Island, I bought that set while I was in Pittsburgh at the N-Scale convention in June of 2017, and it's a very nice set. So he's obviously down to his last few sets and he wants to get rid of them, so hence his closeout prices, which, as you can see, is half what he normally charged. So, and remember, the 10% comes off the $35. I paid a bit more than that. Anyway, Southern Pacific. Then we've got some Union Pacifics, some Santa Fe's. Now, he loves Santa Fe. There's lots of Santa Fe on this spreadsheet. Some Missouri Pacific, more Santa Fe, and more Santa Fe. Okay, so if we go to page 2, up the top we've got Birmingham Southern, Georgia Railroad, and the Western Railway of Alabama. I can't say I've heard of any of those three, but anyway, that's what they are. They're made by Microtrains. Then you've got another Microtrain set from Milwaukee Road. Then a set of 6 Intermountains. In Western Pacific. Now, there aren't a lot of stuff around in Western Pacific, so you should grab them. I bought that set of 6 off him. So then we've got New York Central, Union Pacific, and some more Western Pacifics. Okay, page 3, more Santa Fe, Kansas City Southern, okay, Pennsylvania. Then we've got 3 unusual ice service PFE cars, some Santa Fe fuel service, and some Southern Pacific Railway Express Agency baggage cars. Okay, page 4. Okay, he's had Blue Fourth shops do his hoppers, which is not surprising because just about all hoppers these days seem to come from Blue Fourth shops. They've got such a huge range. I've now got heaps of them. They're really nice products. Okay, then we've got Southern Pacific, T&O, more Santa Fe, Santa Fe cabooses, more Santa Fe, Western Pacific ice service, and Santa Fe hoppers. Once again, Blue Fourth shops. And then on page 5, got some Southern Pacific heavyweight cars. We've then got this very nice set. Very nice set of Pacific Fruit Express reefers. I've bought that set. That was the one I was interested in, that I contacted him in the first place. Now they're selling for $109.95. I've managed to shift the photographs. That's the challenge of using spreadsheets. But anyway, so they're $109.95 full price, no 10% discount, but well worth it for such an unusual product. Admittedly, I might be able to buy them for $35 in a year or two's time, but that's the choice you always have. Now, these cars have got body-mounted couplers and metal wheels, so they're going to form part of an analysis I'm going to do of all of the manufacturers' new, basically 40-foot cars, and to weigh them all and and say, you know, how they're made in terms of metal wheels and body couplers, etc., and compare them to microtrains, and try and get a good feel for the different products and how well the couplers fit. I'll be talking next in the next segment. Sorry, not segment. In the next podcast about get this right in a minute. PIKO couplers. PIKO, I'll say that again, which are not compatible with microtrains. But as I say, I'll do a segment on that in the next podcast. To finish on George's spreadsheet, we have some more Santa Fe's, and a Southern Pacific tank car. So there you go. That's where you get them from. And they're both new and neat. So that's the end of this segment. Okay, that's the end of podcast number 4. A correction to a comment I made at the beginning of the podcast, where I said I was using iVideo to publish these podcasts. In fact, it's Apple's iMovie, not iVideo, iMovie, and it's a very simple to use program, which is good because I've used some complicated ones and they drive you nuts. But this one's simple, and you add the segments together, and it just doesn't take much time at all. So I don't know what all the concern about editing is. 2 other things. Intermountain, which you see in there. 12th February, 12th March, they went and updated their up and coming product list. 12th of April, they haven't done it. So in the next podcast, we hope we'll include the April upcoming products from Intermountain. They have so many products that they're going to dominate the rest of the year, provided they actually come. Having been waiting for 4 years for the F units to appear, I will believe it when I see it. But hopefully they'll come. But we can only tell you what Intermountain are willing to publicly publish. So next podcast we'll show you their updated up and coming products released, and I bet you it has most of the products on it shifted by 1 month. But let's hope they prove me wrong. Okay, last but not least, thank you, Ken Patterson. You're quite right. We've had at least a 500% increase in the number of subscribers, the number of people who like us, the number of comments. We haven't had a single person say that they don't like us. It's been great, and I really appreciate your publicising the podcast. So thank you, Ken, and I wish you the best of luck with your podcasts. That's all. Good night and goodbye from me.
In 1842 I left the old world for the new, bad cess to the luck that brought me through to work upon the railroad. To work upon the railroad. In 1843 'twas then I met sweet Biddy McGee, an elegant wife she's been to me while working on the railroad. In 1845 I thought myself more dead than alive. I thought myself more dead than alive while working on the railroad. 1847, sweet Biddy McGee, she went to heaven. If she left one kid, she left 11 to work upon the railroad.